Good morning and welcome back to the farm. It's a beautiful day outside, so of course it's Monday and I have to be at work. But it's laundry day, so I need to be up and down from the basement a couple of times today. So I am going to take the opportunity to get caught up on some of my seed starting. I'm incredibly behind, especially with my hot weather plants. So I'm going to try and whack those into trays today. Let me get this laundry in the washing machine and I'll show you around my seed starting setup. All right, so this is my seed starting setup, and you can see I've got a bunch of stuff under lights now, and I am incredibly remiss in splitting things up and getting it repotted, so that's another project I need to get to. But for right now, I'm going to focus on I've got my soil in down here, and my seed box is here. At the moment, I've got another one upstairs that I have to fill. And this is my makeshift workbench from scrap lumber that I had just suspended between the shelves on the rack. So I've got my potting soil down here, and it still feels good enough to get started in. So let's get set up and get these trays filled and start putting some seeds in. Anybody who's wondering, this box is just a photo storage box that I got at Michael's, but you can probably get it at any craft store. Michael's sells them for like $45, but they go on sale a lot for $15, and that's when I tend to grab them. And then I have each one labeled on the top and on the front, so I know what types of seeds are in, so I can just grab what I'm looking for. So we're going to get our tomato box and our pepper box. I can't remember how much of each I'm supposed to plant, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is a 72 hole tray. Each row is 6. So I know I need about 35 to 38 tomato plants. So if I do half of these, or maybe if I do the whole tray in tomatoes and do a whole tray in peppers. I need to check my map. But it won't hurt to have too many tomatoes, so I think I'm just going to plant this whole tray as tomatoes. So let's see how many varieties I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 13 varieties and 12 rows. So let's see which ones I don't need to do. I have have a lot of paste tomatoes because I prefer paste tomatoes, just because I don't like all the pulp and stuff. That's a cherry tomato. That's a paste tomato. But I can probably limit how many paste tomatoes I have. I love brandywines. No idea what those are. Those ones I know definitely want. I'm really excited to grow the Costaludos this year, and hopefully I have good luck with them. Amish paste this year, and I'm going to save the San Marzanos because I know what those are and I know what they do, so I will hold off on those. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pastes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slicers, and I think these are cherries, so we've got mats. It's annoying. I thought I had ordered some Matt's Wild Cherries, which I love those because they're teeny tiny, and they're great for canning if you substitute some of your vinegar for a balsamic vinegar. They make great cocktail tomatoes for doing like a quick caprese. So I love growing those, but I don't seem to have them. I was sure I'd ordered some from Johnny's, but I don't see any here. So, oh, hello Gimli. You aren't a gardener. Could you get out of my tray, please? Come on the floor. If there's a counter, Gimli wants to be on it, especially if I'm doing any work. All right, so let's get my tags. I got introduced to these garden pens from Am I Gardener, which they're UV resistant, so I can put them in the trays, and in here they're going to be fine, but when I take them outside, if I leave them out in the sun when they're hardening off or whatever, the tags are going to fade and I'm not going to know what anything is. But these UV resistant pens don't fade, so I'll be able to use these again and again. So let me get these tags made and start putting some seeds in. The nice thing about having a work from home job is that you can take 10 minutes here and there during the course of the day when, you know, most people would be taking cigarette breaks, and go down and do these small jobs. So now I'm back at my desk and I'll work for another half hour, and then I'll grab 10 minutes to go down and move my laundry and get the rest of those seeds in. the seeds I was most excited about planting, and I just dumped them all over the floor, and they're so delicate. They're in this bucket somewhere. Shoot. The only thing I can do is scrape all of this dirt into a container and try and sprout that. All right. Those are lids. All right. So I've got a blueberry container here, so that'll have plenty of drainage. And I'm just gonna scrape everything. So let me take some of this out. This is in no way ideal, but hopefully it'll at least get me some. Ugh, I'm so mad at myself. All right, well, it is what it is, and we go from here. And cross our fingers. Oh, that's way too full. This is called making a bad problem worse. All right, let's scrape this top layer off. Rid of most of this. Okay, try that again. All right, that's better. It gives them a little more room. I'll give it a good bottom watering too, because it's obviously going to need it. Right. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Do I have any left in here? I have 2. Those out without spilling them everywhere. Ding dong. Okay. Okay. I always keep my envelopes in case I need to refer back to them, but when I use up all the seeds, I just put an X on it so I know that that one's empty. Well, on the plus side, I guess I'm planting some San Marzanos anyway, after all. Let me get the label. The trick with doing these seed trays is you want to fill them with dirt, but you don't want to pack it real tight because the roots need room to move around. So that's why I just kind of lightly filled it. And you can see it's kind of already settling a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. Because theoretically, I'm going to sprout these in here and then transfer them into something larger. Although considering how late I'm starting them, I may not. They may go straight from these seed trays into the ground. Well, play it by ear and see what happens. Usually I find it's not worth growing a lot of tomatoes. I'll grow a couple of plants just to have some easily convenient. But it's, if you're trying to make your own sauces and whatnot, it's usually not worth it unless if you have a small like backyard garden, unless you don't grow anything else. I know somebody in the town that I lived in Pennsylvania who she would do like 15 just Amish paste tomatoes in her backyard, 15, 20 of them, and had nothing else in her back garden. And she would put up so much sauce. It was amazing. But again, she didn't really grow anything else. And for me, that never seemed work effective. I would rather grow quicker stuff like lettuces and spinach and such, or really unusual things. Tomatoes, I can get tomatoes at the farmer's market. And there was a place nearby where we could get bushels, or we could drive to Lancaster County and get bushels if we really wanted to put stuff up. So this is the first year I have enough space to actually be considering putting up tomatoes. And it changes how you think about what seeds you're putting in. That's why I'm doing so many paste tomatoes and not as many slicers and cherries, just because they don't, I can use those to put up, and I may combine some of them in. I like how the sweetness that a cherry tomato adds to, like my tomato jam. I prefer to do that with cherry tomatoes, just because they are sweeter and it balances nicely with the vinegar in the sauce, or in the jam process. But I will be able to plant all of these and probably still have to pick some up at garden centers and farm markets and such in the area this summer, just because I do have so much space in that garden. I'm using, not as religiously as I should probably, a new app I found called Seed Time, which is, I'm still struggling some with their garden design portion, but the task portion is great because it tells you when to plant what based on when you're going to be putting it in the ground. So it automatically calculates from your last frost date and tells you when to be starting everything and when to be getting your beds ready. And when I say I'm woefully behind on my seed starting, that's what I mean. I haven't been keeping up with the app, and it's letting me know in no uncertain terms that I need to be catching up. So, but it's a really nice tool to at least have you thinking about when you need to be putting these things, getting them started, when you need to put them in the ground. It keeps track of how many of each variety you need if you go to the extra effort of putting all your varieties in, which to me is definitely worth it. So if you're looking for something to help you manage, you might take a look at that. It's free for the basics, and I think I did pay a little bit extra for the subscription just to have all the calendaring options available. But I think even if it only works for this year, it's going to help me have a better sense of how the year flows around here when I'm still trying to get my feet under me. So that, I'm not sponsored. They don't know I exist, considering this is my, what, 4th video? Yeah, nobody's asking me for sponsorship, or nobody's offering me sponsorships, so. Okay, Mark Twain. Starting seeds always goes a lot faster, yet takes a lot more time than I think it's going to every time. So we'll do these tomatoes this morning, and maybe we'll do the peppers this afternoon. What's up, Molly? Oh, no, that's not Molly, that's Gimli. I know what's up with you. I know, I'm not paying attention to you. You'll survive. Yeah? Hi. Thank you for making an appearance. I'm sure everybody's very happy to see you. Please don't show your butt to the camera. What do you think you're going to get up there? Huh? What do you see up there? All right, come on. Down you get. I have to look these up. This is why I always keep my seed catalogs, because the envelopes often don't have the information you need. I'm pretty sure these sweet aperitifs are cherry tomato, but I need to double check. So. And tomatoes, they're so stingy with the seeds. Which is why I like to do the open pollinated. So this year, as I find varieties that I like, I'm gonna hang on to some of them and let them ripen all the way and save the seeds from them. Because open pollinated seeds are more likely to breed true than any of the hybrids. The hybrids, especially if they say they're an F1 hybrid, that means that this is the first generation of that cross for those particular seeds. So it's not that they just came up with this combination and are sending it out to us untested. They've experimented with crossing 2 given varieties of tomato that were coming up in the first generation with flavor, texture, storage ability, whatever, that they're looking for in a particular, so in this case, in tomatoes. But if you were to take the seeds from those first generation plants and plant those to create a second generation, it's not necessarily going to come up with the same characteristics that the first generation had. Now, if you take that second generation and again look for those characteristics that you wanted in the previous generation and see which of these plants bred those true and took those seeds, planted those the next year, again, only saved from the plants that are coming back with those same characteristics and leaving the ones that had alternate characteristics over, I believe it's 7 generations, eventually you will get a stable genome that's going to be producing the same kind of plant over and over and over again. And those are what's called open pollinated. Heirloom varieties are varieties like open pollinated that are not part of that hybrid mix, but have a much older genealogy, if you will. So that's the difference between open pollinated and hybrid. It has nothing to do with GMO or anything like that. It's just the crossbreeding that's done to get new varieties. All right, let me spray these down real good, and I'll put them under a hood and bottom water them, and then we'll be good for our tomatoes. And hopefully 6 weeks is enough. It's the 22nd of April today. Our last frost date is theoretically May 15th, but I know last year on like May 20th, they got a huge blizzard up here that time. So I am probably not going to put tomatoes and peppers in the ground until after the beginning of June, just to be on the safe side. So I love these trays. I got them, did I get these from, no, I got these from, oh, I'm going to have to look it up. I want to say Barefoot Gardeners, and I don't think that's right. I will look it up and put it up on the screen. But I love them because you can just set the seed trays inside these trays and then bottom water them. And I got the domes to go with it, so that keeps the humidity in. I do have heat pads here, and I'm going to, is this one plugged in? Yes, this one is plugged in. So that's warm, so we'll give the tomatoes and the peppers a little extra boost with some extra warmth, because it's a little chilly down here in the basement. So, all right. Okay, and that, oh, I gotta water those. Where's my jug? So the one problem with this basement is there's no spigot in here, so I can't just get water while I'm down here. I have to bring it from upstairs. So I keep a couple of jugs. And I'm just going to fill this maybe about 1/3 of the way full. And then that'll just absorb as it needs it. And make sure it's on the unit. All right, I'm going to move my laundry and get back to work, and we'll do this afternoon for the peppers. All right, no plant survives first contact with the enemy, isn't that the saying? I just got a message from the local guy that I got to come and till my garden. He said he was gonna, previously he'd said he was gonna bring his tractor over and drop it off the day before he was going to till. Well, I just got a message from him saying he's going to come over and till today, and I've still got tarps out there. So let's go get those tarps moved. was a bit startling. I started pulling up the other half of the tarp, and these two fuzzy little critters came running out from under the tarp, one big and one smaller. And it's not anything I've ever seen before. So I'm guessing it's voles, because I've heard a lot of warnings about voles in this area. So I'm worried they've gone under the first half of the tarp that I now have to move to stretch out to get folded up. So I don't know what we'll see, but we'll see what we see. This is what I've been working with, or what I've got to work with this year. One of the previous owners said to me that they've been putting compost on this garden for the 7 years they've been living here, but judging by the texture of the soil and how many rocks are still in it, I don't think they've been putting a whole lot. If they've been putting anything in, they've probably been putting in straight chicken manure out of their chicken coop. The texture is just gluey, and it's full of rocks and weeds. So they've probably been tilling it pretty heavily, which makes me even more wish I wasn't tilling this year. But you can see, even with having the tarp on for, when did I put that down? The end of February, beginning of March, and we're almost to the end of April now. There's stuff in here that is determined to keep growing, and I just need to take it all down and then start from scratch. I'll do heavy mulching in the paths and just keep weeding heavily as in the beds, and then after this year we'll just put mulch on top of, or put new compost on top of the existing compost, and hopefully eventually kill off the weed bank that's established itself. The nice thing about spring is everything's starting to come up, and I think I found some treasures where the other shed used to have been. Let me show you. So you see this fuzzy little guy here, and these fuzzy little guys here, and these fuzzy guys little here. I think those are comfrey plants, and that is wonderful news. You guys snuck up on me. Hey, you're good.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for coming out. So they kind of snuck up on me and didn't knock on the door, just got started. So, which I've got no problem with, that's great. You can hear, if you listen, you can hear all the rocks in the soil as he's going through, but it looks like he's making great quick work of it. No surprises yet. I think the voles did get out of there, and I did confirm, yes, those were voles. They were very cute, but apparently they're very destructive to trees. So we'll hope that this will at least keep them out of the garden. Okay.
It's up right now.
Gotcha. I looked at a house across from the post office. I put an offer in on that place, but they didn't accept it, which is probably just as well, but.
Probably didn't have as much beautiful land as you got here.
No, it would have been a lot more work, and the house is in a lot worse shape, so. Look at how much better this soil looks. I am so thrilled. The young man who came out and did my yard, Thomas, thank you again so much. You did an amazing job. I'm just tickled pink at having this done. It's only the beginning of the work, obviously, but it's a beginning. So now that this is tilled up, I need to lay out all the rows and then dig those, piling the soil on either side to build up each of the beds, and then mulch those walkways so I don't have to deal with weeds. Then I also need to bring in compost. If you look at the soil, you can see, let's see if I can get it on screen. You can see it just gloms together. There's no texture to it, no body to it. The people I bought the property from insisted that they've been putting compost on it every year for the 7 years that they've lived here. But I'm thinking that they only put composted cow manure on it because there's no texture to it that you would get if you were putting leaves or wood chips or anything like that in it. So that's going to be part of my process over the next weeks and months and years, is building some more texture into that soil and bringing it to life a little bit more. But that's future problems, and right now I need to get back to work because I have been playing hooky a lot this afternoon. I do still have one more chore that needs to get done this afternoon, so I will see you when I get back from doing that, or when I finish working for the day. That's that. It wasn't too hard, but it was heavy. SUVs are not probably the best tool for farming, but it's what I've got until I can find a cheap pickup truck, which seems to be a contradiction in terms around here. But it's okay, we're going to get it done. That should be it for me for Monday, I hope. Of course, I didn't expect to be going to buy T-posts yesterday after I signed off with you guys, and here we are. Whew. Not the day I expected, but it rarely is, right? We make our plans and whatever's going to happen, happens. But it was good stuff. I got my tomatoes planted. We got the garden tilled. Found the comfrey plants, which I'm so excited about. And we got the T-post out of the car. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, we'll try and get those peppers planted. I don't have to go anywhere tomorrow night, so we'll start laying out those garden beds. It's going to be a lot of digging, which I'm not necessarily looking forward to. But it's important to get that done and get stuff started in the ground, start getting that soil covered before the weeds that we just all turned up start sprouting. I'm definitely going to have to keep ahead of those for a while. And then we'll see what the rest of the week brings. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow.